Interesting.
Mr. Owoseni.
You see, by the way, even if arrangements had not been made prior to that time, because of the proximity of that divisional headquarters of the police station, and on days like that, and every other day, there is what we call the station guards. That is to say that that police station ought to have even been secured. That is, there should have been some policemen also protecting the station, and it's just like an eyesight to where the incident took place. Even without a distress call, if there is an officer who's in charge of that station would have seen it, there ought to have been positioned, even in that station, a patrol vehicle, because of the protection of the station itself and the policemen that are working there. So these would seem a little bit out of way, unacceptable, because of the closeness. So without anybody being called by anybody to say, oh, something was happening, there ought to be a kind of response. It would be a different thing if they say, okay, yes, we are overpowered or what. But what those guys just required was a patrol vehicle just moving to the area. You can see the only policeman, that's only one person. You know, doing things with them, they didn't do anything with him. So imagine if 2, 3 other persons had run out of the station to go and help him, it would make a difference.
Olu, I want to bring this situation. Would it be fair to say that perhaps why we had this sort of lapse, does it have anything to do with perhaps the relationship between the police and
community relations?
Community relations, yes.
When you consider the conversations around community policing and state policing and all of that, part of the argument has been that if you are very familiar with the adage that says if you stay too long in a place, you take the coloration of the place. You're a product of where you're coming from. So the argument that when you have that kind of policing situation, people have become so hand in glove that you can't really do so much because of maybe a counter or a reprisal attack. Now that police station is situated within a densely populated area. Should I also say that part of the incidences happen just right behind the police station? There's a street behind the police station where this situation also happened, just right behind the police station. So the Sinai brothers, for instance, the Boston Marathon incident, how were they trapped or how were they caught? Simple CCTV. Now if we have a situation where we've gone beyond the CCTV thing, we have live footages of these men. They have faces. And if we're still discussing this, and as we speak, there's no form of arrest carried out up till now, it tells you what we are up against.
Is Agot Palace, is it a notorious, has there been any history of notoriety in the past, especially whenever it's time for election?
Well, it would be fair to say that that police station has been burnt down before.
That's true.
By a PAN group, an ideologist group. I think they went after one of their members, and that police station was burned down. I think twice now. Wow. So you can. So there's more to this. Why maybe you have just one person there, or why a reinforcement was not deployed. Either way, the job of the security is to secure.
Mr. Owoseni, you mentioned that the police must have underestimated that, but just analyzing the situation on the surface suggests criminal negligence and some collusion of some sort. Whichever way you look at it, look at the poor policeman there. That was an unsafe act. It appeared that
what if they were
he was not in the know of anything that was going on.
You know, from my experience in Lagos, yes, I might have said they underestimated, but honestly, that's not an excuse. Agot Palace, you heard him said it, it's been burnt before. The area is notorious for such things. There are a lot of hoodlums and touts, and whoever that is the divisional police officer in that area, or the command, or the person in charge of operations should have factored that into their planning. But whatever excuse anybody might give, it is not justifiable at all. I've mentioned before, there even ought to be a patrol vehicle. The police station, part of the duties of the police during election is to also safeguard the police station. So from what happened and what we've seen in the footage, it doesn't seem as if they even had the station guards, or that station itself is protected. And that could also, because people can just get angry from what has happened and move to the station to say they want to go and vote. So whatever, it's actually something is wrong somewhere. And, you know, he has mentioned arrest and whatever. These things are going to come up later. But I believe that by the time the command and the police authority would be doing an assessment of what happened, someone must be called to question. Someone must be identified as whoever that must have led the hoodlums to that place. I don't think there is any excuse for that to happen.
Olu, what do you think? What do you think this will, you know, have generally in terms of, should I say, the mood of the area? I mean, security-wise, you know, what's the feeling among residents? Is there a state of panic or fear?
Yeah, you know, like they say
because
about
what's going to happen next?
When Nigeria was described as people with the happiest people on earth, or the country with the happiest people on earth, it was against the background of, if you can't say suffering and smiling, case of they don't want too much from government. The few they want from government, they maybe don't get it. So people provide water for themselves, provide light, almost provide security for themselves and all of that. So when you talk about what the mood will be like, before now, I mean, it's a case of, man, if you got to be strong, you got to secure yourself. You want road into your estate, you got to make it. If you want water, you have to channel one. And if something as little as, you know, when you have, you know, I went there privately to find out exactly. And I say, when I was asking some of the voters, I said, when this was happening, what was your reaction? What were your reactions? And they were like, well, they brought only one policeman here. Is it not vote? We can't come and kill ourselves. If these guys kill you, you're gone. So just let them do what they want to do and let's take a quiet walk. Now, the man that supposedly, allegedly was killed, wasn't killed. The truth, again, is that I tried to interview a couple of guys behind the scene, and they said, listen, we know the consequences of this guy dying in our hands. And there is a cultural undertone to this. And let's not make any mistakes about it. There's a tribal undertone to this. Let's also not make mistakes about it. Because the questions to ask yourself, for instance, is who are the dominant tribe in that area? Because more than 50 polling units were affected. Same style. So you go to Machuku Drive, it's the same thing. You go to Moshobalaji, the same thing. You go to Gemtalk, the same thing. You go to Ahafia Street, the same thing. You go to Babaewe bus stop, the same thing. You go to Jakonde Estate, the same thing. You go to Ejigbo, Ronick, Polytechnic, the same thing. The style, the same. So I think that's, I feel for the residents. So what they've done is, you know what, we're not just going to bother ourselves. Let's not get ourselves in the middle. The police should do their work. If they don't, we'll just continue to do what we can within our powers to secure ourselves, get estate gates, get estate security, secure yourself in your homes and all of that. But otherwise, I don't know how much faith these people can have in... a lot of people moved out until they started hearing calls from relatives to say, you know what, military men are patrolling around that area. I spoke to the commander of the Operation Python Dance, who is leading the operations there, and I said, how long are you guys going to do this for? Say, well, the brief is that we're going to be here for at least a week. If there's a need, we will extend it. While that happens, I may not see, or we may not see any need for people wanting to take laws into their hands. But how sustainable is that?